The White House was our primordial soup, a base of evolution. We are formless. We are the very discipline and morality that Americans invoke so often. How can anyone hope to eliminate us? As long as this nation exists, so will we.
Metal Gear Solid 2 told the future. It continues to justify its own existence the further we get from its 2002 release date, and it has arguably aged the best out of the whole franchise. I know many of you haven't played the original Metal Gear games that spawned the MGS series, but if you have, you will have noticed many familiar gameplay and story beats. Key cards, remote missiles, a ninja, Metal Gear being captured, etc., etc., etc. Many themes and gameplay elements repeat throughout the franchise. Kojima uses the actual form of video games to tell stories. Metal Gear Solid for the PS1 is the third mainline and canon Metal Gear game to be released. Solid implies 3 dimensions, and happens to be the name of the protagonist, Solid Snake. Therefore, MGS1 is Metal Gear 3. As Metal Gear Solid made the jump to modern 3D graphics, Snake was considered a relic of an older era, or as some like to call, a legend. He spent his last several years becoming a dog musher, retired from his life as a one-man army.
You came by yourself? You think you're some kind of one-man army?
Only to be dragged back due to his brother. But he's still doing many of the same things he had done previously. Events repeat: a fight with a tank, a fight with a helicopter, minefields, torture, Grey Fox fighting his kin, Metal Gear.
Outer heaven.
Of course, this was due to Snake's brother Liquid trying to improve upon his father's legacy as one last fuck you to a man who seemingly coddled his brother over him. Metal Gear Solid 2 incorporates this depiction into its story. It's a game about itself, a game about what it means to be a sequel, a game about nostalgia, and a game about information. Another new console, another upgrade. Snake takes on the name Pliskin. He looks different, but he's familiar. He's no longer the protagonist. After a brief tease in the tutorial, Raiden takes the reins. He is introduced as Snake, a part of the supposed-to-be defunct Foxhound. His name is quickly changed to Raiden, as another Snake is responsible for this terrorist attack. Events repeat. Title screen, a dead president, a ninja, a hallway of death, torture, an Emmerich, an absent father. But one thing has changed. Solid Snake. He returns to guide Raiden, waiting for the right time to pull him out of the simulation. Near the end of Metal Gear Solid 2, the whole family comes together. Solid Snake, his brother Solidus, his adopted nephew Raiden, and his revived brother Liquid, in the body of Revolver Ocelot. Throughout the game, reference was made to the S3 plan, or Solid Snake simulation. Liquid Ocelot reveals that the plan was intended to mold Raiden into the perfect warrior, to turn him into Solid Snake. Solidus was chosen as the antagonist since his relationship to Raiden mirrored Solid Snake's relationship to his father, Big Boss. The shell in the middle of the Hudson River was also designed to be a close approximation of the Shadow Moses incident, Shadow Moses being the setting of Metal Gear Solid. But things go off the rails as Hal Emmerich and Snake's machinations come into play to disrupt the emergence of Arsenal Gear. At the steps of Federal Hall, Raiden faces his father, the 43rd President of the United States. But that's when the true villain calls.
And we will become the Sons of Liberty!
Raiden, are you receiving? We're still here.
You see, the events of MGS2 were orchestrated by AI, the la-le-lu-le-lo, the Patriots. They weren't trying to make another Solid Snake. The S3 plan didn't stand for Solid Snake simulation. Instead, it meant selection for societal sanity. Arsenal Gear wasn't just created to house Metal Gears, it was meant to house servers for an incredibly powerful AI system designed to scrub the internet for information, to change the meta-reality of the world.
Raiden, you seem to think that our plan is one of censorship.
Are you telling me it's not?
You're being silly. What we propose to do is not to control content, but to create context.
Create context.
This game started the Kojima is a prophet meme. By the way, this game is obsessed with memes, as described by Richard Dawkins in The Selfish Gene. A meme is essentially a unit of cultural transmission, analogous to the gene, arguing that replication also happens in culture, albeit in a different sense. Thank you, Wikipedia. I'm not giving that piece of shit money.
Only later did we move on to his more controversial book, a book that I strongly recommend, Woke Racism: How a New Religion Has Betrayed Black America.
Memes spread through people. The modern meme does as well. Our culture defines our understanding of memes, and our understanding is governed by the information we receive on a near constant basis. This game released in 2002, delayed due to the finale's resemblance to the 9/11 attacks. The internet was about to explode. MySpace would emerge a year later, YouTube 2 years after that. This game came out during the aftermath of the dot-com bubble, yet this game also described echo chambers and fake news years before they became known to the wider public. The internet used to be the Wild West, but governments have taken control. SOPA, COSA, OSA, all intended to control the flow of information. Many Western states claim that this is for the protection of children, yet they allow AI slop to be pumped out like cow chained to a milk machine for children to consume, not to mention that AI is being used to produce child sexual abuse material, but of course no regulation for that. The Trump administration has even put a 10-year embargo on AI regulation. YouTube is utilizing AI to touch up videos without the creator's consent. It cannot be opted out of, and AI is being used by websites like YouTube to determine if content is appropriate for you. While false images and video recordings are terrifying in their own right, what's even more terrifying is the removal of context and information that AI allows for. Post 9/11, the US media apparatus went into overdrive to manufacture consent for wars. Wars that didn't need to happen. Wars that have been proven failures. Wars responsible for an untold amount of inhumane war crimes perpetrated by the United States government and its allies. The Bush administration went on stage and put the words nuclear and Iraq within close proximity to build a connection that wasn't there. The media connected the dots, context was created, and in 2003 we invaded Iraq. 20 years later, a resistance group made a Hail Mary attack against their oppressor of almost a century. The media machine was put to work, but it failed to capture the youth in the same way it had 20 years prior. Social media allowed people to see what was really happening overseas, the atrocities our government was committing in real time, much like Vietnam had earlier, and like Vietnam, our government said never again. The government would never allow such unfettered access to the battlefield again in future wars, because no one that witnesses the horrors our military inflicts on people abroad can claim we are just. We committed genocide in Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan, and of course, Palestine. Here it is again, a new technology showing the world the truth. That cannot stand. Trump flirted with the idea of banning TikTok during the 2020 uprisings. After October 7th, Biden would again revive it, and it was actually successful. Trump allowing TikTok to continue, so long as it lay fealty at his feet. No more freedom of expression. Social media was already working to suppress information. Nonsense words like unalived and graped have to be used to avoid suppression by the algorithm. Dark money groups infiltrate our social media landscape, creating context by paying influencers to repeat imperialist talking points and to ignore the atrocities of the US. AI and bots flood our feeds and now our classrooms as they shovel alternate history pig shit down our gullets. Inherently political identities like queerness are being regulated away by our laws and our presence online scrubbed away by the previously mentioned COSA. Right now, Michigan is playing with a bill that calls the online presence of transgender people pornography. Sex workers in the queer community are the canary in the coal mines. Both are now going to suffer a lot more due to the puritanical need for protection. AI is a new tool of subjugation, built by companies responsible for child slavery in the Congo for the resources used to make our technology, notably backed by the same countries responsible for the genocides overseas. Yemen, Sudan, Syria, etc., etc., etc. Wars over resources that will only ever get worse as long as capitalism and fascism reign and the climate collapses. Events repeat. Tanks, helicopters, drones, nuclear proliferation, cruel leaders, manufactured consent.
Stomach-turning reports of babies being killed.
Genocide. Control. Ryan kills the ex-president at the foot of George Washington himself, just as the AI intended. Their plan was a success, even with the interference of Snake and Otacon. But a few years later, while the world is embroiled in proxy wars for money and resources, people from all walks of life came together and decided that perhaps the world needed a change. To move on from the system and burn it all down. No more AI, no more oligarchy, and no more patriots. And that can't be done by a one-man army.
Life isn't just about passing on your genes. We can leave behind much more than just DNA. Through speech, music, literature, and movies, what we've seen, heard, felt, anger, joy, and sorrow. These are the things I will pass on. That's what I live for. We need to pass the torch and let our children read our messy and sad history by its light. We have all the magic of the digital age to do that with. The human race will probably come to an end sometime, and new species may rule over this planet. Earth may not be forever, but we still have the responsibility to leave what traces of life we can. Building the future and keeping the past alive are one and the same thing.
Hello, I'm Seth, Editor-in-Chief for Forbidden Origins Comics. That was a video that I decided to try out. I had a lot of thoughts thinking about Metal Gear Solid 2 and, the current state of the world. Usually I just sit in front of a camera and say whatever's off the top of my head. This time I decided to actually write a script out and edit it myself. Usually Armani does the editing, but I just wanted to try something new. So let us know how it went. Like, comment, subscribe. You can visit us on our Discord, visit our website at forbiddenorigins.com. Check out my comic, These Lies End in Death. And you all have a good day.